Australia, good evening, America, and welcome to the rest of the world. And today we're going to do a big shout out to everyone listening in the Asia Pacific region. Now, this is the first in a new show series with the gorgeous Annie Gibbins from the Women's Business Incubator. And before I introduce you to Annie, here's what you need to know. If you're listening live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, Hannah is ready and waiting in the background to take your comments, provide links to the things that we talk about. Additionally, if you miss anything in the show, you can always jump on to Annie's websites, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but also on tonylontis.com. Click on the co-host link and you will find everything that we talk to about. So if you're listening whilst driving or watching whilst cooking breakfast, then make sure you jump onto the websites to find the information, because we have some special offers about the things that we'll be talking about in the next few weeks. An integral part of each and every show is the international acknowledgement of the special and important role that Indigenous communities play in our cultural identity. So I want to respectfully acknowledge the people of the Yugambeh language region, Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia, the traditional owners of the land on which we broadcast and meet, and pay my respects to the elders past and present and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here watching today. Now here is what you need to know about the gorgeous Annie Gibbins. Annie Gibbins is a passionate, purpose-driven Fempreneur, a CEO, global women's empowerment coach, podcast host, speaker, and #1 best-selling author. As the founder of the Women's Business Incubator, Life by Design, and Women Collaborating Globally, Annie is a digital powerhouse, helping push the limits of what is truly possible. And is positioned as one of Australia's leading voices for women in business. As the G100 Australian Country Chair, Equity and Equality and Top Women's Changemaker 2021, her passion for gender equality is unwavering when it comes to excelling the potential of the female workforce. Annie is driven by dismantling the glass ceiling and removing the invisible barriers to success that many women come up against in their business and life journey. We're going to be having some wonderful conversations about women and women in business. With 3 university degrees under her belt, Annie is now the go-to international speaker across global women's leaders in business. As a keynote speaker at the Lady America Power Conference, Barriers and Bias, the status of women in leadership in 2021, Annie shared the power behind unlocking the visibility of female entrepreneurs around the globe. She also hosts a podcast called Memoirs of Successful Women, and she's interviewed over 100 inspirational women worldwide. Her guests include business leaders, entrepreneurs, humanitarians, athletes, and creators of startups on a mission. Starting her career as a registered nurse, Annie went on to become a health educationalist, change management CEO, and entrepreneur, whilst raising her family of 5, including 2 sets of twins born 26 months apart. Now that's achievement all on its lonesome. As the CEO of Glaucoma Australia, an organisation dedicated to providing sight-saving education, support and advocacy for people with glaucoma and their families, Annie is no stranger on how to maximise impact with punch. I am incredibly excited and incredibly privileged to have Annie Gibbins on the show as my co-host for this series of Secret Women's Business. Welcome to the show, Annie.
Oh, It is such a delight to be joining you, Tony. I know we're going to have such a wonderful conversation over the next few weeks, all about women in business, just finding your own voice, stepping into a whole new space, and starting to just believe big, right? It's going to be
I
awesome.
know. I keep saying this, and I don't mean it to disregard men or disregard masculine any energy. But the more women I talk to, this is a powerful period of time for women. So,
Mhm.
ladies, if you're listening out there, you've had an idea, an entrepreneurial thought, now is the time, isn't it, Annie?
Now is definitely the time, Tony. I mean, particularly because the pandemic that we've all just lived through and are still at the tail ends of, and the uncertainty really of the future in employment, is a time that we've already had the wool pulled out under us, right? So we might as well just start thinking, what if I do have more capacity, right? So it's a time of great
Mm.
change for women, particularly in the startup phase.
Absolutely. And there's something about the rising feminine energy across the globe that will actually buoy you along. So this time is powerful. If ever you've thought about being in business, being an entrepreneur, getting that idea off the ground, this is the show for you to listen to because Annie and I will be discussing a whole range of incentives and ways in which you can get started. But before we do that, I want you to get to know this beautiful person who is Annie Gibbins. So I wanted to start at the beginning and get you to tell me about growing up and how that led into your first career in nursing.
Well, I grew up on the northern beaches of Sydney, Australia. So I had actually, in on the world scale, I had a very privileged upbringing. I got brought up in a very nice area, very conservative, and I was a really fun-loving kid. I was always one of those, born for the stage kids who thought everything was possible. And I had a bit of a celebrity auntie who was a Russian ballerina, so it added this whole edge
Oh.
of she was a prima donna from the ballet russe. So I just so I had pictures all over my walls of this, size 2 amazing ballerina. And even though I was not and was never going to be, I, of course, as a child thought, I could be famous. I could be on the stage like her, but
Mhm.
I had two very inspirational grandmothers from different sides of the world. One was an aristocrat from birth from Russia who lost all of that and became a refugee in Australia. So I had this grandmother who just believed she was like royalty because she was raised that way and could not believe
Mm.
anything wasn't going to be possible. So incredible mindset I learned from.
Yes.
And my other grandmother was pretty much born dirt poor in Sydney, Australia, and actually went, no, nothing's going to be given to you. You have to work for every cent. So I actually I'm probably the combination of my two
What a
grandmothers.
great balance.
It's a real great balance, isn't it? It's like everything's
Yeah.
possible. Just ask boldly, expect it to happen, and then, but also work your butt
Do
off.
work in the
Always
background.
have a plan B, and don't expect anyone to whatever. So I had an incredible early childhood, really learning off these ladies. And contrasting that, I also had very conservative parents who then
Mm.
sort of went, well, my father was a pharmacist, you should be a pharmacist. And every time I had ideas, which actually came organically, which is,
Yeah.
but I want to be a businesswoman. I want to, make amazing things happen. Maybe I could run a company. Maybe I could do something really incredible. I got shot down in flames. That's not going to happen. You could never be a good mother if you go and have these crazy ideas, even though I was only 15 when I had those ideas. But I'm like, oh, I want to be, but the power of blanket statements, right, Tony? I want to be a good mother
Yes.
one day. Oh, that's a shame. I can't do that because then I wouldn't be a good mother. And my mother was very proudly a stay-at-home mother, didn't like working mothers. And also they then had opinions on me, which was really interesting that
Yep.
I didn't have a financial head. I wouldn't be a good
Yep.
businesswoman. I was too excitable, all these sorts of things that when they come from a voice, and this is not to totally disrespect the amazing things that they also did, it was actually just the power of the voice was very
Mm.
impactful on me. And so
Yeah.
and when I went and said, well, I want to be a ballerina like my grandmother, it's like, well, with fat legs like that, you're never going to be. So you've got to start thinking seriously and you're going to work for your father. So I think you started by, well, how did you end up in nursing? It was actually a crazy scenario of my heart was when all through senior high school, that
Uh-huh.
I want to do business or at least marketing,
Uh-huh.
advertising, something fun and edgy, right?
Mhm.
And then I went, you know, you've got to be a pharmacist, got to be a pharmacist. And then my father had 3 armed robberies in his pharmacy while I was doing my final year.
Whoa.
And I'm like, oh my God, like I really don't want to disrespect my father. And I can't stand the thought of working in one little shop all day, every day for my entire career, giving out medicines. No offense to the pharmacists. But I thought I've got to do something medical. So I actually just ticked nursing, thinking at the age of
Ah.
17, I wouldn't get in as much trouble. And so I became a nurse. Don't you love just that decision making? So my parents to this day then thought I didn't get the marks for pharmacy. I did nursing, and which was probably a good thing because then when I had children, I could be a good mum.
Well, the other thing is, Annie, that in our age group, I remember having this conversation that open to us at that time was a banking job, go
Mm-hmm.
nursing, or go teaching. There were
Nursing or
not
teaching.
many other options really. So, and nursing in that day and age was pretty fun. It was hard work, but we lived in nurses' quarters and we did big blocks of study and we hung out with the doctors in training and we partied a lot. So it was kind of fun, you
It was
know?
good for the party girls like you and I, both original nurses, and absolutely. And nursing is a fantastic profession, and I have just
The
so much respect.
skills,
I loved it. It was fantastic for all of my
yes.
foundations. Everything that I've done since then, I've actually built it on my nurse training, to
I
be
was going to
honest.
say, because by the time we were mere 20-year-olds, we were often in charge of a ward of 30 high care patients, managing graduate doctors, coordinating specialists' requirements, and complex patient needs. So at that very young age, we had lots of skills, and I have to agree with you, Annie, that nursing background teaches you a whole range of skills that I never realized at the time
Oh,
until way down the track. Oh my goodness, I actually learnt that when I was nursing. I actually learnt how to react in a really serious, life threatening situation with calmness.
oh.
And, you know,
I agree. I often get asked in my roles, well, how did you know when you're a leader? How did you develop those leadership and
yep,
organizational skills, time management, things like that? I'm like,
yes,
and my response is, I try to think of some amazing response, and I'm like,
yeah, no, it's nursing.
nurse. I was a nurse. That's right. You manage life and death. You organize
Absolutely.
people. You have to problem solve. We're calm in the face of stress and so
Yeah,
it is absolutely fantastic that we are unflappable. It's like, well,
yes.
that's not a problem. You're not like nearly dead. Yes, you've got pain. You've got a
Because
bit of blood, but it's like, come and tell me when you've got a real problem.
you
Uh,
know, my kids used to say to me, Annie, and they still say it to this day, unless we were dying, we would we wouldn't tell mum. And I'm like, oh no. But that was because I
the
was a
worst.
nurse.
It's because your mother's a nurse. I know. Mine would just be looking at it going, no, it's only a scratch. Don't bother her. You'd have to be gushing. Go, Mum, this is quite serious. And I'm like, one of my
I
sons
know.
once fell out of a tree and he fell out of a
Yes.
tree, held his arm, walked to the car, got in the car, and then he was a little bit, we go, you all right, Dad? He goes, yeah, my arm is crunching.
Yeah, I've got a broken arm story from one of my kids too, which is
So
really
awful.
terrible retrospectively,
Terrible.
but in the scheme of what we dealt with in nursing at such a young age, catastrophic accidents with
Oh,
really nasty things, the kid's broken arm was
I
kind
know,
of
the
not a
poor
big
darling. And here,
deal.
my biggest responsibility in life from my whole childhood was to be a good mother. And my poor
Yeah,
little 7-year-old didn't even feel bravely to say, I think my arm might be
I think
broken.
my
I've got
arm's
to get in
broken,
that
Mum.
car. I'm just piling the kids in the Tarago, the minivan, and off we go. Oh dear, epic fail. I have many of them.
Same. I know. You think back now and think, oh my goodness, how did my poor children survive my motherings, particularly as a first time mum? But they survived and they laugh about it now, which is a good thing.
Resilience
Annie,
building, that's what I tell them.
speaking Yeah, you're still here. What's the problem? Uh, you had a real challenging journey with motherhood. So, two sets of twins born 26 months apart. My mind just goes, "Oh my God." Can you tell us about what it was like during that time? Because not only did you have this family and five kids, you had to manage work, and you were starting on your entrepreneurial and CEO journey, and you were studying. How did it all
Crazy,
work
right?
out?
I know.
Yeah.
I am just the example for those that were listening in, watching. Yes, I am the example of how can crazy things actually happen. Uh, and there's positives and negatives of my crazy situation. One, it was so crazy, I could actually just laugh my way through it. And I actually got out of the problem of trying to be too perfect, because that was definitely not going to be achievable. So there were some benefits, but there were incredible challenges, Tony. So the long
Yes.
story is, I met my childhood sweetheart at 17. We were engaged at 19, married at 20, and we've
Oh,
now been married for 35 years. So those teenage weddings did
yay.
work. And so then yes, and so here I was. I always wanted to be a businesswoman. I'm now a nurse, and I'm a mighty great nurse. And then I'm suddenly we're expecting our first baby
Babies.
3 year later, and I'm having twins. So amazing, exciting. We felt like we're the chosen ones, like,
Yeah.
no idea how to raise a child. But then anyway, suddenly we were blessed with two boys after I had a lifetime plan. I love how you have all these ideas.
I know.
I was
I'm
going to have
going to have
four
three
girls.
girls.
I was going to have four girls. That was my plan. And then I had twin boys, and I just went, whoa, that's
What do I
not
do with
what I
these?
expected. And then 26 months later, I had another set, because hubby and I went, well, our life's so crazy. Why don't we have one more? And then our family will be done. I love the thinking. I've obviously matured my thought processes as I've got older, but hilarious, right? So then, of
Yes.
course, we suddenly go to the second ultrasound, and they go, oh, and I'm, of course, laughing my way, going, gee, you'd think it'd feel different. It feels the same. And my gorgeous
Yeah.
husband, who loves and adores me, goes, that's probably because your body's just out of shape, babe. It's just given way. And I'm like, wow, okay. So then anyway, twins twice, and in 26 months. And then at the same time, I'm only 25 years old. So I've got four
Yeah.
kids for 2 and a quarter, and I'm 25 years old. We've really still got no money. We moved from our flat to a house,
A bigger house.
try and just have some room, because we started this process 2 years before in a 1 bedroom unit, and
Oh my
so it was all
God.
pretty crazy. And then I'm still going, okay, well, I need the most money I can get. So I did a Friday night and a Saturday night shift of nursing,
Yes.
so that I could
Yes.
sleep Saturday, Sunday, which was
Yes.
joyful for my poor darling husband, who worked Monday to Friday. But that's what you
Yeah.
did. We just worked, and we tag
Yes.
team. And mum tried to sleep. I love it.
I was just thinking, how on earth did you manage to sleep? Because,
Oh,
shift
great.
work and nursing is a tough gig.
Oh, especially when the next door neighbour puts the lawnmower on first thing as soon as
Oh
you go to sleep.
no.
But I did have a year off between, in there. So I breastfed the
Yes.
babies for, 9 to 12 months, both sets,
Yes.
and went back in there. So it wasn't all totally crazy and full on, but it was that every cent was necessary. So I'd look at the shifts and work out when would be our best value. And
Yes.
and then in that time, I then also had my regular moments of crying, as you do, probably because of
Mm.
sleep deprivation, and because my
Yes.
my body was the size of a refrigerator with breast milk. And so I then went, oh, it's such a shame that I still never will be a businesswoman. And I just had regular meltdowns. My
Oh.
husband used to laugh, going, and I actually thought, because I believe the blanket statements, it's not possible. So all my tears were about what a shame, but I love my babies so much, and I'm such a great mom.
Yes.
I'm such a great nurse, and I
Yes.
don't have any problems. And who am I to
To
complain?
c-
But then
and
I also,
desire something
why
better,
did I
Annie.
have this thought in my head always that, but I just think I'd be good at it. Like, it was just
Yeah.
crazy to me. I was more mystified, I think, at those
Yes.
days. So then
Yes.
my way around that was, okay, while I was a nurse, and while I was juggling my children, and while my life was completely out of control, I had a brainwave moment again, and said to my husband, I think, you know what? I obviously don't have the money to do an MBA, business administration master's.
Yeah.
And we have no money, and that would be crazy, officially crazy. So how about I do a graduate diploma of education, and I could maybe become a nurse educator. That would be a manager. And I was pretty excited about this idea. So I enrolled in that and chipped away and ended up over the next few years, because you've got to do it in little bite-sized bits. You're not, it's very difficult to get released as a mother of two sets of twins, because, the world falls over. And so I went back to uni and I studied, and the journey was that I ended up becoming a nurse educator. And I absolutely had a ball. And 8 years later, I was head teacher of a nursing school, because I obviously did have some little higher level management in there. And the kids laughed at mum. They had the mum who went off to university and did night classes. And I was like to my friends too, right? I actually went for extra time and stayed for coffee shop. I went to early, went to the coffee shop, had a break. Actually went, oh my God, like they think uni's like an hour and a half, but I went for 3, because I guess like the concept of, oh my gosh, you never get a break, right? You don't even get to go to the bathroom by yourself when you're at home. So I'm like, oh, heaven. So I decided at that very moment I should be a serial academic. It's just my version of balance. I got stimulated. I met cool people. I had a break. And official break, which people valued. That was the interesting point. If you just say, can I go for a walk? They go, oh, but kids need you, or someone needs you. But if you go off to uni, they go, mum's at uni. That's a bit
great thinking, Annie.
I've become very crafty in my time, Tony.
So obviously at some point in that nursing journey, you decided, I'm actually going to try and get into business. And you decided that you're going to head and get some of those high level positions. So the first CEO position, tell me about the story around that.
Well, here I was 8 years later, and my kids were, in primary school, and life was good. And I'm like going, see, I always knew I was a good manager. And then I actually, one day at work, something must have been annoying me. And I just had that moment, which I'm sure all of us have. What if there's more? I know it's incredible revelation. But I went, because everyone kept telling me that I'd achieved my goals. Like I was now head teacher of a nursing school, and I'd got quicker than all these other ladies who'd been there for a long time. And they weren't happy about that, by the way, because seniority should rule. And who is she? And who is looking after her children while she's here? And all of that.
I know. So I dealt with How dare she?
Fellow woman.
I know.
So I was at this stage that people are going, oh my gosh, you've got the dream. And I went, wow. And then I actually, because I'm Annie, went, but what if there is more? So this curiosity kicked in. And then I suddenly started looking at jobs, and I got a national education manager for the orthopedic surgeon's job. And I left where I was. And everyone went, what on earth? And then all of a sudden, she went, she's mental, but they all told me I wouldn't get it. I love it. Every step of my journey, I've been told it won't work. So I went,
Annie, there's something about that. For me too, there's something about when someone tells you can't do something. Or for instance, I was told that I needed to go and write romance novels versus memoirs and business books. So there's something in there about telling a feisty woman that she can't do something. It's like a red rag to a bull.
Tell me I can't. I'll actually really feel that. Exactly. So I then got this role and suddenly increased my income like by $50,000. And in those days, it was like life-changing to my little family, because we were trying to, scrimping to pay for soccer boots and ballet classes and things. So I was like, oh my gosh. And it was that moment that I went, oh, wow, like you dare to dream. And I did hard work. By that stage, I finished my graduate diploma and enrolled in a master's degree. And I suddenly had a master's education. So not suddenly. I'm talking it's night classes. I didn't get to do it full time, part time, all those extra coffee shop moments for me. I loved it. I milked it, but I actually did the hard work, and I just did it. And people went, why are you bothering? Because I didn't even need the masters for where I was. And I went, wow, that's amazing. I'm an education specialist running a school, and my fellow peers are telling me that I didn't need a masters for the job. And I went, well, maybe I need it for my own mind, because let's face it, all these children just go, and then maybe that will help me if there's more, what a novel thought. So I got this national education managed job, and I was there for 4 years. And that was the moment that it actually changed. I had a fantastic CEO there. I learned so much. I suddenly, and then that CEO left and we got a new CEO who I just looked at him and I went, how did you get the job? It was one of my first moments, which is like, I just thought everyone else was so amazing. When you're at that moment, you always go, wow, they're amazing. They're amazing. I could never be like them.
But then you work with them and go,
well, who's he and how did he get this job? And I just watched it and I went, wow, it was the first moment that I wasn't so inspired by what I received, and it's not, everyone's got their own style, but that moment actually made me go, what if again, what if I could be a CEO? What if that 15-year-old Annie self who said she had business skills and could do more could actually nail it? And then I thought to myself, let's face it, I've done a couple of degrees now. I'm managing these tribe of Gibbins children, and that, although they fall out of a tree every now and then and have this crazy mother,
but they're okay.
They're doing all right. And, people seem to like me and all this sort of thing. And I went, okay. So I then applied for this role at the Australasian Society for Ultrasound in Medicine. So it was like really amazing, but they wanted niche and education change management CEO, and I went, well, I can manage change, let's face it.
Absolutely. You've got twins.
I've grown a nursing school now to a $4 million college. We've got multiple programs. I run 20 staff. I've got skills, and I've got 2 sets of twins, which tell you what, after all of my accolades in life, the twins actually are the biggest management. And so I went for this role, which was crazy because in all my career journey, I actually applied for it. I went to interview and I got it. So it was like, whoever gets the first one at the hardest one. After that, I've gone for ones, I've applied for 100 things and got it. So it's really interesting that you think the first one, but who's to say? And so I applied for this job, and I had a moment that changed me. I then went and dared to dream like my grandmothers. I went and said, well, my French grandmother, who was at this stage probably 99, she died. My grandmothers, I'm going to be here forever. One of them died at 2 and one of them died at 99. So I've got a long time to keep growing my incubator, ladies. And so I then had this moment of, what if I just show up and say, I'm an educator. I've got an incredible track record. I've got a master's degree. I can see where you're wanting to change these areas in association. I will learn. What else do I have to do? If I have to do college director training, Lean Six Sigma, whatever. Hey, I love going out to uni. That's a dream for me. And anyway, apparently I was entertaining and refreshing, and I got the role. So the first role, I actually felt like I like, talk about imposter syndrome. All my voice, my father went in, like, we're rolling around going, what if they realize you don't have financial skills? What if
I was going to ask you about that.
And then my mother's voice would be going, and how are you going to be a good mum now you've picked up this like really impressive job? Like, it was really big in my world. Like, I was hardly running.
It's still impressive in anyone's world, like, Annie.
Wow. And then I also had the school mums going, oh, you're going to need help. Who's going to be getting your kids to and fro? All those voices, how they're going to manage now.
What's with that
job? And you're like going, wow, did they ever ask my husband ever how he manages doing his job? Never once. And
with 5 kids, because he's the other half.
He's never had one of those questions to him. So I got all of that from my fellow sisterhood, which has driven where I am now at the Women's Business Incubator and Tribe, which we're going to talk over in a few weeks. But it was really interesting. I had all these moments of, come on, women, why aren't you supporting your fellow woman?
I have to agree with you.
Realize that I need to back myself and to own myself, and I need to channel my grandmothers. And that was that moment when I went for the first interview. I went, I'm going to act like my aristocratic grandmother who just went, well, why wouldn't I get this job? For goodness sake, I've got all the goods. I'm amazing. I'm going to apply myself. I tick all the boxes. Why wouldn't I? And then I also went with my other grandmother going, well, they're not just going to give you anything, darling. Got to work your ass off for everything you get in life. And so I then went, okay, so I went so prepared. I had my 30 days of, if you employ me, my first 100 days as your CEO
would look like this.
I gave them a booklet on what that would be like. I prepared it so well. They were just like dazzled, like, let's face it. And anyway, it worked. And so I realized sometimes you've got to go above and beyond, and other
Yeah.
times you've just got to have belief.
Mm.
And it changed my life, not just having that CEO role, but that moment when
Yes.
I suddenly shifted my mindset. I then
Yeah.
went, when I actually received the job and I got all these looks, the looks of, oh my gosh, I can't believe you got that, rather than, wow,
Oh,
babe, that's amazing. Or
yeah.
how did you get that job? And I'm like, oh my gosh, have you not watched me for a decade going off to uni, doing these jobs, learning all of this? So it was a crazy experience, but I absolutely loved it. So I had 4 years there. And then since then, I
Mm.
have gone off and done corporate consulting. I've now run a charity for 4.5 years. And I also, in that time, I then suddenly got the desire to change things somehow. My
Yes.
vision changed. I want to actually have a future that my daughters now were growing up to be teens. I want my daughters and the women of the world coming after me to have a framework that they can get educated, they can get told what they do, they get mentored, they get coached in an affirming way, that they have their fellow women celebrating their achievements and backing them up and not bringing them down. So a whole lot of things happen. So I started my
Absolutely.
business, and
Yes.
then over the next 12 years, I suppose, as I've navigated my C-suite roles and done more courses, I've done all those extra courses. I just thought maybe I need them. I'll do them anyway, because my other grandma would say, do everything, do everything. And
Yes.
whereas my first grandma would go, I'll just do it if they ask. And so I got a bit nerdy, which is surprising. And yeah, so I did all of that. And then through that, I've then grown and grown and grown my incubator. So I've just now, and now it's
Yes.
my life work. It is my passion. Although I love all the other things I do, my whole purpose and passion is on building the women's business incubator, and it's got a women's business tribe that goes with it. And actually, through the pandemic, going global, my mind
Yes.
shifted again. Before
Yes.
pandemic, I was Australia. Now I'm like, hello, everybody in the
Yeah.
world. I had a lady from Botswana enroll in my program last night. It's like,
Yes.
wow, that's so exciting.
And
Why
that's the
can't
thing, Annie, that in this day and age, we can live in Australia and have global businesses as women. And for a lot of women, it's just triggering the thought of what and what else? What else? And giving them permission to dream and have big goals and visions, because for some women that never occurs.
no,
And that's really sad, because their potential is stifled by those words that are in their head. And instead of creating amazing businesses and being wonderful women across the globe, they're stifled in their life. And that needs to change, because women are 50% of the population, hello, and
yes,
we need equality, and the world needs feminine diversity as well, because
yes.
that's the only way we change the planet, is having women in the conversations at the top levels across the globe. That's the only way we change things,
Absolutely.
because we're wives, mothers, etc., etc., etc.
And all the
We
statistics are that we are great for business. Women are the biggest decision makers as consumers, right? We
Yes,
manage our households, we buy things, we encouraging our husbands and partners to purchase things as well. We are great for business. We are great at
yes,
mediating, negotiating. I certainly don't think we'd be having this current war in the world if a woman was managing it.
absolutely.
This isn't just a feminist perspective. All of the data and the statistics support that
Suggests and
women
agrees with that.
are great for the bottom line of
Yeah.
business, and that's what business is ultimately. So
And the
my
other thing,
position is, yeah, it's not just getting to the table, it's actually continuing for us to grow and elevate. Why do I
yeah,
just don't sort of say, oh well, I've stopped now, keep pushing? Because
yes,
until we have that equal voice, and not just equal voice, then we have the equal positions of who's making the decisions, right?
definitely.
Decision making, not just the token 50-50. That will be amazing. It
Yeah,
started at
just
4%.
to get to that point would be
Yeah. When I had my dare
fantastic.
to dream moment when I was, I think I was 17 or 18, my father actually told me that there were 4% of the world's CEOs were women. Four. And I went,
Ooh.
wow. So here I
What is
am with
it now, Annie? Do you know what the percentage is now?
oh,
It's still not great.
It varies in different countries, and it also varies. So it's generally between around 25 to 38%. But
So
you then go
still a way to go.
still a way to go. But then you go to C-suite and the
Mm-hmm.
top Fortune 500 positions, and it's suddenly going to come back to another like a 3 or 4% again. So it's like
Whoa.
having change, but actually in the big business positions, we haven't.
It's haven't.
They probably went
That's
from zero, but if you actually look at, well, who is actually running the world? Yes, it is
mm,
still very male. So we are chipping away, but we have also just had a few really sad steps backward because of the
yes.
pandemic. Women were
Yes.
the first to self-sacrifice. So women have left
Yes.
their jobs in droves, which is great for me as a women's business incubator because they're also thinking of startups and side hustles. But the reality is actually really sad that
It
they are the
is.
ones who went out of the couple. Oh, I'll look after the children. I'll homeschool.
Because yeah.
Many of them have left jobs that might have been where I was at my mid-stage career and actually, were earning a
Yeah.
decent income and now have self-sacrificed. And it's very hard to then get back into that. So while we have had a lot of progress over the last 20 years, and I'm so excited about that, we've
Yeah.
actually just had a big
A
regression
big, yeah.
in gender equality, and the whole area of equity issues.
Oh,
We can talk about that another time, but
yeah.
where we are actually positioning, and it's about women not just finding their voice, it's using their voice to be heard, to be claiming their rights. And that's it. It's all about actually just ensuring that every human being reaches their potential. Like that's where
Absolutely.
amongst all the jargon, I actually go, I want that little girl who dares to dream to go, if something's been put in your heart, it's there for a reason. You've obviously got some God-given gifts and skills.
Definitely.
You deserve the right to be able to explore that, which is why I now give away scholarship programs and things like that. Because
Yes.
I go, I want to know that, those girls who are seriously so disadvantaged compared to the life I've experienced, they don't have someone who's going to back them. They might not have a
Yeah.
sweetie partner who says, go out to uni at night, babe, you do it.
Yes.
Dreams, they might have all of those sort of negative domestic violence, a real
Yes.
hardship financially in countries that are extremely male dominated and authoritative.
Yes.
Or even communist, whatever. And
Yeah.
so I want to, it's obviously my mission and passion that,
Yes.
somehow you can touch and go, you know what, I'm there for you, girl. You go, girl. Because, you just need,
Yes.
I think sometimes you just need that one person who then
You
goes,
do. Sometimes
you know
it just
what? Why are they all
takes.
right? Why are you even hearing their voice? Well, you're hearing it, but why are you accepting it as a truth?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's amazing what we accept as a truth. And you need
Absolutely.
more people to say, you know what, you're better than that.
Yeah, and the other thing around that whole equality piece is that women are amazing creators, innovators, and problem solvers. And I say this to the young women that I talk to. Now, if you're a mum, you've created a baby from a few cells to a human being without conscious thought. Imagine what you could do and what you could create if you put conscious thought and action around your dreams and visions.
Oh, beautifully said. Beautifully
Like
said.
just and women need to understand that they don't have to become masculine or act in a male way, that they're female for a reason, and that is beautiful, that is strong, that is powerful, that is creative, that's innovative. Don't let anyone ever tell you any different.
It's
Again,
true. And they do tell you, in my
they
career, because I've
do.
gone through the earlier years, I show up, like I do today, a bright red, I wear
Yes.
my hair, I've got long hair, I turn up in flowery outfits because you know
Yeah.
what? That's who I am. I'm going to show up authentically as myself, as every other person should. Why should I turn up in grey trousers? I would never wear them.
Absolutely.
And also, you've already got 70% of men in this room that I'm looking
Yeah.
at. So why do
And
you
they're all in grey suits.
and they're all in grey suits with blue ties and generally white. And so why do I need to try and
Fit
add
into
to
that.
that? I actually am at this stage the opposite. I go and say, and I'll walk in and they'll laugh at me. I'll go, oh, I'm the token female. Good on you. You've ticked another box. And they look at you and go, oh, but then we have a bit of a joke. We need, we need more
Yes.
women, and then we need more diversity you know.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
we need to have these conversations, but it requires a woman to actually show up and go, you know, that's right, I am going to show up as myself. And also, you know, you shouldn't be apologetic about that, and you should be
No.
championing other women to be sitting next to you, and also encouraging all of the diversity that comes,
Yeah.
because the world I live in, and also being on boards, you know, what is the whole secret to real growth, real innovation, real change, real innovative thinking is
Is
diversity.
diversity.
It's the breadth of diversity. You should be having conflicts. You should be hoping that you have a real wide range of thinking on different topics,
Absolutely.
and actually that makes you really validate, justify, and then you should go to a vote on it. And my view is there should always be someone who just, you know, didn't agree, abstained, or didn't
Yeah.
agree, because
Yeah.
that actually
So you
shows
can have the
what
conversation.
you know. And you channel that type of thinking, you know. Even in my family, I go, I don't want you all agree with me. We should respectfully agree to disagree. That actually is
Absolutely.
healthy, because that shows that we're using our voice, that shows
Mm.
that we are empowered, and that
Yeah.
we have got good self-esteem, right, as well.
Yeah.
And so whether it's in your family, whether it's in your community, I look at politics, could learn from a lot of principles from that. But
Oh my goodness.
business, whether it's
Politics.
small business, big business, all of those success principles will be because everyone comes valued, supported, appreciated, heard, and they're in a framework of, you know, obviously vision, strategy,
Yes.
actions, and so forth, which is you get that synergistic value
Yeah.
of, you know, the sum of of everybody there. It's just brilliant. So I'm all into
Yeah.
it. I love, I
Yeah.
love, I love meeting more and more random people, you know, and I, you know, I often get told, you know, oh, do you think you need to tone down a little bit? I went, well,
You
that'd be
know.
not very good if I didn't show up as myself, because I'm a business coach and my whole ethos is in
Be
coaching other
yourself.
women to be themselves. And so, you know, why bother? So I just go, oh, no, I don't actually.
Annie, there's a whole conversation around that, and it relates to actually your biography, the Becoming Annie biography, of a curious woman. It's actually about being curious, backing yourself, and understanding that you are unique in the world. So why not show up as unique? And also, those visions and thoughts that you have, even as a young 17-year-old. So if there happens to be 17 or 18-year-olds listening to the show or watching the show today, please dare to dream. Don't go, oh no, that's too much for me. I could never do that. Don't do that. Allow yourself to dream, and dream big, because it
Dream.
opens your mind to what might be possible. Now, that dream that you have at 17 might eventuate to something completely different as you grow, and in life. However, don't stop dreaming, girls. Don't stop dreaming. And the other thing too is, don't attack other women. So you don't have to agree with what a particular woman is saying, but do not denigrate her. Do not say she has no right to say what she's saying, because women supporting women is a key part of the way that we move forward. And you do not have to agree with everything another woman says, but you absolutely should support her right to say it. And
100%.
don't criticize what she's wearing. Don't comment on her makeup. And don't tell her she should be home with the kids. That's no longer okay.
It is definitely not okay. It is definitely not okay. I'll show those watching in. Here's my biography. Oh, can
Yes,
you see it? Becoming Annie, the biography of a curious woman. There we go. I'll get you some
it's
better light.
great, by the way,
And
people.
so get it on Amazon, or any of your best retailers. Becoming Annie, the biography of a curious woman. The reason it was written for a couple of reasons, and I'll actually tell you the honest truth. I actually, in my backstory that we haven't shared today, I suffered some domestic sexual assault when I was a young child, and the government here about 3 years ago went and had a big reckoning, I suppose, as part of the Me
Yes.
Too movement and other things, and actually sort of said, said, well, we want to recognize women who have been abused and assaulted and actually, you know, hear them apologize on behalf of society that turned a blind eye and actually and compensate them. And I kind of went, well, you know, wow, no one's ever believed me. You know, I've got, you know, and I've got major sort of family fallout because of that, because apparently I'm a liar and I have been my entire life, which is an interesting narrative to hold. And so because of that, so I've never had my truth accepted by particularly my mother. And so there's incredible pain and incredible damage because of that, because the person you really expect
to believe you
to believe you didn't, and so forth. So anyway, when COVID hit at the same time, I was also when I went to a psychologist, and he said, you should apply for this because it'll just finally give you closure. So I went, oh, well, I don't want money. It kind of feels like dirty money in a way. And he's like going, no, it's symbolic. Anyway, so the long story is that I went and I applied for it, and I got this beautiful letter from the government, which was lovely. It'd be nice if it was from my mother, but that's another story for my therapist. And so anyway, and I did get this financial reward, and then I was sitting with this money going, oh, I have to do something with the money. What am I going to do with the money? And I had this other gorgeous lady, Dawn Bates, who's the author of this. And I was telling her, and she goes, oh my gosh, I'm an author. You know, obviously you have to pay someone to do something. I want to write your story because it's amazing. And it's going to, seriously, your story from this girl who dared to dream, who had these awesome grannies, who's then become like a full-on blend of these two inspirational women who I could seriously write a book on both of them, who then navigates assault, navigates having twins twice in her early 20s, navigates 3 degrees, still laughs, still loves a husband, still, you know, and through all the highs and lows, of which there are many, and I'm not trying to say it's really glossy, you know, there's seriously so many moments of just tears and like, oh my gosh, like seriously, we should have had a license to raise these children. How are we going to actually get by? And where are we going to get the money from? And all of my moments, because I'm always, oh, I want to do it and I want to do it now. And that's been really hard for me, because some of those now took 8 years, 10 years. They get there. So actually sitting down and unpacking my world and putting it into this biography, which has become a #1 bestseller, and it's just beautiful because not just it's to have it, it'll inspire women not to, you know, it's not follow my journey and be successful. It actually is, my gosh, learn what's this journey, because I then explain my thinking and my choices and life is of those moments. It's sliding doors, and I'm a big one of, if the door doesn't open, you know, you're not going to walk past, and then some of them you walk past, and some of them you actually have to create your own door. And I have had my lived experience of, I actually had to create my own door. Create your own door. I had to go, no one in my world is supporting me. Everyone thinks I'm nuts. Everyone thinks I've got delusions of grandeur.
I'm with you, honey. I'm with you.
Going, well, I'm just going to create my own little door here. I'm going to create my little package. I'm going to apply to these positions. I'm going to go to that interview. One of my interviews, I was interviewed by a boardroom of 20 men. And
no way.
And there, yes way. And I'm like, wow, you've got to back yourself so much in this world that I've had. And so I actually, you know, the biography will show, it's called The Curious Woman, because curiosity, ladies,
is a gift.
Is a gift. If your circumstance is so stupid and crazy or horrible, seriously, and you just go, you know, you're just like, it's not going to happen. Exactly. It's not, because if your mindset's like that. But I tell you what, you switch on your curiosity and you go, Annie, what if they're wrong? Or what if they're a bit wrong? Or what if I can just do one thing? Well, one thing for me was a $50,000 raise once. One thing once was actually having the boldness. I've got a book, actually. My twins book is coming out in July.
I know.
In the making. So I've written a book on twins, and because I just went, you know, I want to write a book on twins, and I'm not a natural author. Well, I thought not. Now I am, apparently. I'm even going to a writer's next week. But you are an author. What if the person who said you're not a writer, you're not this, you're not that, what if they're wrong? And also, who are they anyway? And even
to tell you,
know, who are they to tell me? And so now I've actually changed it. The curiosity has gone and said, I'm going to treat every single thing I do as a game, because when it's a game for me, I can't fail. I then go and say, I preface it with, with this could be an epic fail, but let's see how it goes, right?
Goes.
I
I
actually
know.
worked
It's
out
life changing
what
to do
what are
life
the
that way.
when we're talking about visible and invisible barriers to women's success, I tell you what, they are true. Most of it is actually your own barriers you put on yourself.
Absolutely. In
The
this
kind of
space
state
between
people
your
have,
eyes,
the
in your
mindset of
mind.
what's possible. So not only do you need to dream big, you need to act bigger. You need to back it up when people aren't watching. You need to just go, thank you for your comment. I'll take it and I park it. And I seriously have now got a little cone of silence around me, Tony, and I just go,
Yes.
thanks for that, because and then I surround myself with good success principles that says surround yourself with the voices that actually are people who have lived the
That
journey
lift you up and
you want to inherit, right? I want to go, who has actually done what I want? Who is the CEO now? I'm looking for really cool board roles. Well, who are the women and the men who are on those roles that have already got to that position, who I can ask for advice? I now go, I want to be the weakest link in every room because I can go only up. And so therefore it makes you fearless. It once you take, the fear is the fear of failure, the fear of embarrassment, the fear of just looking stupid, the fear of what people would say. And once you actually go, well,
that's just a thought.
And it's not easy. This is seriously, this is a long learning process, ladies listening.
Agreed.
But once you nail it, oh my gosh, now I go, anything's possible. In my current role, I've just got, we've got the patron of Glaucoma Australia, this eye health charity, the Governor General of Australia. We've got a rock star, Kurt Pengilly from In Excess Band, an ambassador. And now I've actually just about to announce in a week's time a very, very iconic Australian. I'll tell everyone. We haven't announced it yet. David Koshy from Sunrise is he's the most iconic male TV hosty personality in our country.
In Australia.
And he's going to now be an ambassador. Now, how did I achieve those wins? Because a previous Annie would have said, oh, well, they're like really amazing. They're really important. They're celebrities. They won't say yes. You're only running a little charity. And then you then start going, that's because I'm thinking all of those things because I've got a little mindset. Whereas I go, no, I'm the CEO of the peak eye health charity in the country.
Correct.
And we're a global leader. And therefore I need the best. I'm looking up.
In the country.
Who are the most important people who could help me on this task? The Governor General, a rock star, a celebrity and command, maybe others. And then seriously, what am I missing? A woman. I need a woman. But that person hasn't become available yet, but hello, they will, because what do we also swing in here? Intentional action. And you said that before. You said that we need to be intentional, and that is so true. Everything we do, we go, you know what, once you start believing that anything is possible, and then you start, strategy, the buzzwords, but you just have daily intentional actions.
Today I'm going to, this is my intent today. I'm going
to send that email. I'm going to find someone who knows them. I'm going to do it. And then that's right. Some of them, you write the letter and they say yes. Some of them, 4 emails, 10 emails. Sometimes you can't even get past the fortress. So you find someone who knows them, you find 2 people who know them, 3 people who know them, and then suddenly they go, oh, how come I haven't met you before, Annie?
Yes.
And I'm like going, and the reality is they never even got all those emails because someone blocked them.
Correct. Someone was a gatekeeper.
So what did I have to do in a couple of these, particularly the latest one? Had to create my own door. I went, what is going to work to get a win here?
Yes.
Because you believe that it is a good thing, if you believe you're entitled to it, not just me personally, the people of Australia,
absolutely
are entitled to not go blind from a preventable eye disease. I think that's a pretty good reason to be persistent. And so therefore you create your own door. And then once you get in it, then you bring in all the other factors of back yourself. Don't apologize for being at that room. You walk in there boldly and bravely, like I learned on my first CEO role, and went.
And sometimes your heart is beating faster than you could imagine, and you are super calm, but inside your heart's going, and you just do it anyway, because it's not rocket science, it's not heart surgery, it's just a human being going to a place they've never been before, you're going to be scared. Annie Gibbins, we are completely out of time. We have so many more wonderful conversations to have about women in business and to unpack this big vision of yours for women. The entrepreneurial and business path for women is often a life changer in terms of life, abundance, financial security. There's so much to unpack. We're going to be talking to Annie each and every week about her women's business incubator. The links, my friends, will be in the show notes attached to this show. If you want to jump on to any of Annie's websites, it's the Women's Biz Incubator, anniegibbons.com. You'll find all her books and all her information. Please reach out and talk to Annie. She is a powerhouse supporter of women. So if you're a woman with an idea, reach out and have a chat to Annie today. Don't leave it till next week. Do it today. She's on all socials. Just connect. That, my friends, is your lot for this week. This is Tony Lontis and Annie Gibbins, and this is Secret Women's Business. We will be back same time next week with another episode. Bye for now, everyone. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you so much, Tony.